what's known as typography. It's a pretty technical thing, lots of ins and outs and what have yous. You may not really understand.
John, have you thought about doing that on the internet?
Scott, I've been doing typography for a really long time, and as you can see, I'm pretty good. One thing I've learned is you can't do typography on the interwebs.
Have I got something to show you?
So this is your site. I set up a site here with some text on it, the text you were looking at, and I gave each word a different tag or a different class or a different ID, so we can apply a different font to every word. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on the Font Your Face module. After I turn that on, I also need to turn on a font provider or two. I'm going to start with Google Fonts, just because that's a small list of fonts and it'll be easy to look at. I'm going to go down to the bottom of the page and save my configuration. Now that font's enabled. So now I'm going to go over to the Themes section. And here I have a new tab called Font Your Face. So I'm going to click on that and look at my list of fonts I have enabled, which is of course no fonts since I just turned it on. So I need to add a new font. When I click on that, I'm going to see a list of all the fonts that Google Fonts provides. I'm going to go to page 2 of this list because I know the font I'm looking for. It starts with L. It's Lobster. So I'm going to choose that font, and now I have an option to say where I want that font applied. I'm going to apply that to the word can, which I've given a class of can, and click Add. And now I see the font Lobster in my list. So if I go back to the front page and refresh, that word can will have the font Lobster applied to it. Wonderful. But now I want to use some more fonts, so I'm going to go back to the modules page and turn on some more font providers. I'm going to turn on Font Squirrel and Kernest because they both have a lot of fonts. I'm going to go down to the bottom of the page and save again. And now I'm going to go back to the Themes section, back to the Font Your Face tab. When I go add a new font this time, I see a lot more fonts. There's some from Kernest, some from Font Squirrel, and the Google fonts are still there. I'm going to go ahead and choose the first one because it's first. And I'm going to apply this one to 2 words. I can use multiple CSS selectors here by putting a comma between them. I'm going to use the H4 selector for has and the B with the class of Urger selector for burger. So that'll apply the same font to 2 different words or 2 different sections of the site. When I click on Add Font, I see that font there, and when I go back and refresh, there it is. Those 2 words now have that font applied. So I have 2 more words I want to do. I'm going to add 1 more font. I'll go down and choose the acknowledgement font. It's a nice big font. I'm going to add that to my last 2 words. That I has a tag of I, and cheese has an ID of cheese. I'm going to add that font. Gets added to my list. Go back to the front page, refresh, and there it is. All the words have different fonts applied with Font Your Face. Typography on the interwebs.
So what do you think?
It's so easy. And to think I could take the typography on these web pages and print them out and mail them to my friends and family.